Children, today we will discuss a poem, A Thing of Beauty. This poem is written by John Keats and he was a British romantic poet. Although he was a surgeon, but he decided to devote himself wholly to poetry. So, Keats has the power to sway and delight the readers. Children, A Thing of Beauty. It is an extract taken from his poem Endymion, a poetic romance. So, it is an extract taken from a poem Endymion, a poetic romance. I'll tell you about the poem. The poem is based on a Greek legend in which Endymion, a beautiful young shepherd and poet who lived on Mount Letmos, had a vision of Cynthia, the moon goddess. The enchanted youth resolved to seek her out and so wandered away through the forest and down under the sea. Children, Keats was a worshipper of beauty. And for whom? For Keats. For him, beauty was truth, and truth beauty. A thing of beauty is a constant source of pleasure. Keats is also a master craftsman. Children, when you will read the poem, when you will go through the poem, you will find a consistency in rhyme scheme and line length. There is balance in each sentence of the poem. No wonder then that sentences like "a thing of beauty is a joy forever" are quoted quite often. Now, I'll tell you the summary first. A thing of beauty is a constant source of joy. Its beauty keeps on increasing. It never fades. It will never pass into nothingness. It provides us a pleasant shelter. Pleasant shelter, a quiet bower for us. It gives us peace and a sleep full of sweet dreams. We are bound to the beauties of the earth. We suffer from malice and disappointment. We lack good human qualities and noble natures. We have some sad days also. All these things make our life gloomy. We also develop unhealthy and evil ways that cause suffering and pain. So, he had described all these things in the first paragraph. And he further says that in spite of all these sufferings, some beautiful things remove the cover of sad feelings from our hearts. All beautiful things of nature are a boon for humanity. The sun, the moon, and old and young trees are sources of happiness. They provide a shady shelter, which is a boon for simple sheep. Daffodil flowers are blooming among the green surroundings. Small streams with transparent water make a cooling shelter of thickets to protect themselves from the hot season. Bushes are growing in the middle of the forest. They have been made more beautiful and grand by a sprinkling of blooming musk roses. Children, these magnificence and beauty surpasses grandeur of the domes that we have imagined for our mighty dead forefathers. These beauties of nature are lovelier than all lovely tales that we have heard or read. So, nature is an endless fountain. It pours into our hearts an immortal drink from the heaven's brink. So, this was all. It was a summary. In this poem, he had created a balance in each sentence. And for him, beauty was truth. Now, if we come up to the first paragraph, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Here the poet says that the thing which is beautiful, the thing which is lovely to see is a joy forever. Forever means for all the time, always. So it is a joy which we feel, always we feel the joy, that joy. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. Children, loveliness means beauty over here. He has described loveliness as beauty. So its beauty increases. It will never pass into nothingness. Nothingness means a thing of no value. Futile. A thing of no value. Futility. So he says that the beauty always increases and it will never fades. It never fades, children, and it will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us. What do you mean by bower? Children, bower means a pleasant place in the shade under a tree. But will keep a bower quiet for us. Now here he says that it provides us pleasant shelter. Who provides the pleasant shelter, children? Thing of beauty provides shelter, pleasant shelter, a quiet bower for us, and sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Now he says it gives us peace and a sleep full of sweet dreams. Quiet here means silent. So a silent bower for us. He says that it gives us peace and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Therefore, in every morrow, children, morrow means next day, morning. So what he says is it gives us peace and sleep full of sweet dreams. So we are bound to the beauties of earth. He says, and quiet breathing. Therefore, on every morrow we are reading. What do you mean by reading? Reading means weaving into a wreath. Making a wreath means making a bouquet. So what is the writer trying to say over here? He says that the thing of beauty, or therefore on every morrow are we reading a flowery band to bind us to the earth. He says that are we weaving the wreath, the bouquet? Are we weaving a bouquet for next morning? Therefore on every morrow are we reading a flowery band to bind us to the earth. So it keeps us binding. When the flowers, when we are making the wreath, when we are making a bouquet, when we are surrounded by the flowers, so that particular thing of beauty binds us. It attaches us. It ties us. It never let us go from there. A flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence of the inhuman dirt. Children, dirt means lack. Despondence means disappointment. Against inhuman means human values. So he says, spite of despondence of the inhuman dirt. Now over here he says we suffer from malice and disappointment. We suffer from the people, they lack human values. So we face disappointment. Now he says, spite of disappointment of the human values, against the human values, dearth means lack of human values in a person, of noble natures of the gloomy days. Of all these things, our life gloomy. So we have some sad days also. He says that we lack good human qualities and noble natures. And we have some sad days also. And children, what do all these things bring in our lives? Children, these things bring gloom. So they make our life gloomy. Of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways. Gloomy means sad, na? So darkened means evil. So he says that of noble natures of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching. Now he says that we develop unhealthy and evil ways that causes us suffering and pain. And yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pale from our dark spirits, such the sun, the moon, trees, old, the young, sprouting a shady boon. Now he said that in spite of all these sufferings, some beautiful things remove the cover of sad feelings from our hearts. They come as a blessing, boon, sprouting a shady boon. Sprouting over here means, have you heard the word sprouting earlier? Sprouting here means developing, producing. So producing we can say developing a blessing for us. In spite of all these things, all these sufferings, some beautiful things remove the cover of sad feelings. And all beautiful things of nature are a boon for humanity. And what are the things, beautiful things, children? He is talking about the sun, the moon, and old and young trees. So he says that all these things are sources of happiness. And he says that they provide shelter, shady shelter, which is a boon. Which is a boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils. So he says that they provide a shady shelter, which is a boon for simple sheep. And he is talking about and such are daffodils with the green world they live in. Now daffodil, children, here means daffodil flowers. He is talking about daffodil flowers, and green world means world of green plants and trees. So he says that daffodil flowers are blooming among the green surroundings. And clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. Children, rills means RILLS. Rills means small streams. It means small streams. So he says that small streams with transparent water, make a cooling shelter. It make a cooling shelter. Covert means shelter of bushes. So he says that small streams with transparent water make a cooling shelter of thickets to protect themselves from the hot season. The mid-forest brake rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. Now he says sprinkling means scattering. Rich means grand. Musk means wild rose, sort of that it is a wild rose. So he says that bushes are growing in middle of the forest, and they have been made more beautiful and grand by a sprinkling of blooming musk roses. It is looking more grand. It is looking more beautiful. It is looking more rich. Rich means grand. By sprinkling of blooming, by scattering of blooming musk roses. Now, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. Now he says that this magnificence and beauty, this grandeur means magnificence, dooms means ruins. So he says that, and such too is a grandeur of the dooms, and such is the magnificence of the ruins we have imagined for the mighty dead. Now he's dead means he's talking about his forefathers, late forefathers. So he says that this magnificence and beauty, it surpasses the grandeur of the ruins that we have imagined for our mighty dead forefathers. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring onto us from the heaven's brink. Now he says that these beauty, immortal means that lives forever and never dies. Tales mean stories. So now he says that these beauties of nature are lovelier than all lovely stories that we have heard or read. So nature is an endless fountain and it pours into our hearts an immortal drink from the heavens brink. Brink means edge or corner. So here brink means edge or corner. I hope you have understood the poem now. So write down the summary as an assignment.